Former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn has been at the center of the Russian collusion conspiracy theory. During the transition, the story goes, you've heard it a lot, Flynn talked to Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak and then lied about what they talked about, apparently proving the existence of a vast Russian takeover of the government. That's what you see on CNN. That's the basic account. Is it actually true? Byron York of the Washington Examiner has been looking carefully, and he reports that in March of 2017, then FBI Director Jim Comey told Congress he did not believe that Flynn lied to investigators about his call with Kislyak. Instead, he said any false statements by Flynn were accidental. And yet, as we said, Flynn pleaded guilty to a felony for lying about that exact thing. What happened? Byron York in studio with us tonight. Byron, this is really confusing.
It is confusing. Go back to January of last year. I mean, the papers were filled with talk about Trump and Russia. Actually, they still are.
Yes.
But they were talking about Trump and Russia and Michael Flynn and these conversations that he had in December during the transition with the Russians. So on January 24th, on a basis that a lot of Republicans are very skeptical about, the FBI goes into the White House and discusses with Michael Flynn what went on in these calls. Now, there was a lot more news after that. Remember,
with no lawyer present. This was
with no lawyer present. That was Flynn's decision. Remember, there was a lot of Republican unhappiness because the substance of that conversation, which had been the Flynn-Kislyak conversation, which had been wiretapped because we wiretapped the Russian ambassador, had been leaked to the press. So Republicans were upset about that. They demanded that the FBI director, James Comey, come up to Capitol Hill and answer some questions. And they were surprised when Comey told them that the two FBI agents who had interviewed Flynn didn't think he lied to them. And if he said anything inaccurate to them, that it was not intentional. So they took the impression, these lawmakers took the impression that, well, I guess Flynn is not going to be charged in this case. And then fast forward to December 1, he pleads guilty to doing just that, lying in that particular meeting.
Which doesn't make any sense at all. So that suggests that Mueller had a different interpretation of it, and somehow convinced, or Flynn was convinced, to plead to something that Comey said he didn't do in the first place. Do you have any idea what the explanation for that could be?
Well, the big change, of course, was that President Trump fired James Comey.
Right.
And as a result of that, Robert Mueller was appointed the special counsel. He assembled a team of very aggressive prosecutors, and all of a sudden Michael Flynn is back in it. It's not clear, did they have more on Flynn, that they pressured him to do this? But you have to remember, what Flynn pled guilty to was something that all the parties knew on that day in January, because this conversation had been wiretapped. There was a recording of it,
right,
a transcript of it. And so when the
that doesn't make sense either, because Flynn was the former head of an intelligence agency.
Yes. Well, everyone thinks he surely knew that he had been recorded.
He must have done. That's what he did for a living, right, for years, right? So of course he would know that that conversation was wiretapped. So why would he lie? How could he have lied about that?
It was kind of odd in the first place. The FBI asking, well, what did you say to the Russian ambassador, when they in fact knew exactly what he said to the Russian ambassador. And he knew that they knew, yes.
Okay. We don't know what the answer is here, but clearly this is very odd, and I look forward to the day when we
No, and the case, by the way, is not completely over. There have been a few developments in the last few weeks of a new judge in the Flynn case ordering the Mueller office to produce evidence to Flynn, which is kind of an unusual situation in the sense that he has already pleaded guilty.
Right, and that's
so that case is not really over yet.
Ahead of time.
Yeah.
Wow, Byron York, amazing. Thank you for staying on this.
Thank you.